This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is just more ridiculousness. National Geographic, which really, when I was growing up, this magazine was showing you other countries, animals in other countries, cultures, things like that, continues to flush itself down the inevitable septic tank along with the likes of TMZ and the other garbage mainstream media outlets out there by putting content out there such as this, pushing transhumanism this month in the April edition. The headline says, "The Next Human, Taking Evolution into Our Own Hands." Now, you've seen other videos I've done on National Geographic recently, having a cover that says the gender revolution that's got a bunch of trannies on it. Another cover that has a young child who transitioned from a boy into a girl. I mean, this is absolutely disgusting. And it shows you how desperate they are, that they're having all of these outlets out there, no matter what, because we even see it on ESPN. We see it with sports magazines talking about transgender athletes winning events. We see Nat Geo talking about it. It's disgraceful. And now we're seeing more of the transhumanism coming into the mainstream. Even right on the cover, the next human, you see these machines, these humans mixed with computers. It says, like other species, we are the product of millions of years of adaptation, which is laughable. Millions of years, sure. Now we're taking matters into our own hands. So they're talking about this as if this is evolution and this is the next wave of humans that are going to live longer. That's how they're going to push this, right? Oh, you won't die. You'll live to be 500. You'll never die because you'll be half robot, half human. You won't get sick anymore. And people go, okay, make me a robot. It'll be like Terminator. Cool. And you might think that sounds crazy, but look how dumbed down the youth in our country is, in our world. They're obsessed with technology, and they'll think that this is the coolest thing ever because they can't think at all. They're completely programmed by the mainstream media, by the television, by their false idols. The article says, when I met the cyborg Neil Harbison in Barcelona, he looked like any local hipster, except for the black antenna arching impressively from the back of his skull over his mop of blonde hair. Folks, I'm not reading you a plot from Terminator 7, okay? I'm not reading you a movie plot here. This is in Nat Geo. It says it was December, and the man was wearing a zippered gray shirt under a black peacoat with narrow gray pants. Born in Belfast and raised in Spain, he has a rare condition called achromatopsia. Of course I'm not saying that right, but that's fine because I don't know what it is and I've never heard of it. It says he cannot perceive color. His antenna, which ends in a fiber optic sensor that hovers right above his eyes, has changed that. Harbison never felt that living in a black and white world was a disability. He said, I see longer distances. Also, I memorize shapes more easily because color doesn't distract me. But he was deeply curious about what things look like in color too, having trained as a musician. So they just go on about how this guy, and you can see the picture of him here, he's got an antenna coming out of the back of his head. I don't know what's more alarming, the antenna coming out of the back of his head or the fact that he's sporting a bowl cut in the year 2017. I mean, somebody want to maybe, I'm more distracted by the hair, to be honest, than the antenna coming out of his head. Is it just me? Gotta look at that bowl around his head. Anyway, they talk about how this type of technology is saving this guy's life in a sense because now we can see life in color. It's all metaphors, right? Oh, so the whole world was in black and white, but now that he's got an antenna sticking out of the back of his head, he sees things in color. How wonderful. Let's all get antennas in the back of our heads. This is all programming, not just for transhumanism. It's programming for the mark of the beast. It's the programming for the microchip. You name it. This stuff is coming. We already got a man apparently living with an antenna in his skull. It says the most intriguing part of the antenna, though, is that it gives him an ability the rest of us don't have. He looked at the lamps on the roof deck and sensed that the infrared lights that activate them were off. He glanced at the planters and could see the ultraviolet markings that show where nectar is located at the center of flowers. You see how they try to twist this? They want a perfect race. That's why all these TV commercials, you always hear people striving for perfection, right? You ever hear that term? Striving for perfection, trying to be as good as you can be. These are all subliminal programming quotes that they use. They're trigger words for people. And they're going to use that when they market this to people. And they're going to say, you could be a better human being. You could live longer. You could accomplish things you never thought imaginable. And people out there who are living in depression, which is the majority of our world, People are living in depression because all they see on television is that you're not good enough, and then they strive and try to achieve what they think are dreams, which are impossible to achieve unless you're a Freemason or a part of these satanic circles to become a famous musician or a famous actor, right? They live in depression because they're getting chemtrails dumped on them 24/7, and they're eating chemical food all the time because everything that comes in a box is just laced with chemicals that aren't natural. That's why if you read the ingredients in a box, you can't pronounce 90% of what's in there. Is that good to be putting that in your body? Probably not, right? Probably not. It says he is then a first step toward the goal that visionary futurists have always had. An early example of what Ray Kurzweil in his well-known book, The Singularity is Near calls, the vast expansion of human potential. This is how they're marketing this. Maximize your potential. Reach potentials you've never seen before. And he is officially known as the world's first cyborg. So apparently, the conditioning from Star Trek is coming into play, right? Those cyborg machine things in the embarrassing series known as Star Trek that people watch. I mean, the guy is the world's first cyborg. He's walking around with an antenna coming out of his head. And they're talking about this as if it's revolutionary, and it's the evolution of humans. They're showing pictures of cavemen trying to play on the emotions. Say 8,000 years ago, look how far we've come. We had guys living in caves who could barely start fires to people with antennas out of their head. But the sad part about that is 99.9% of our population now has no idea how to start a fire. They couldn't start a fire even with matches. If you gave someone a book of matches and put them in a survival situation, they still wouldn't know how. They would go, okay, what do I do? Just hold the match up to a piece of wood and then I'll get this big fire? Is that how it works? As they continue to try to say, we've evolved, we've devolved, we've gone backwards. Nobody can farm. Nobody can create fire. Nobody can do anything. Nobody can think. But that's okay because transhumanism's near. It's already here, but it's near for everyone to accept it and want to be a part of this robotic human race because they're going to want to strive for more and for perfection. And they won't even be under their own control. They'll be under the control of technology. So you think they can't think now? Just wait. It's only going to get worse. Only going to get worse. It says evolution is relentless. When the chance of survival can be increased, it finds a way to make a change, sometimes several different ways. Some Middle Eastern populations have a genetic variation that's different from the one Northern Europeans have to protect them from lactose intolerance. And there are half dozen distinct genetic adaptations that protect Africans against malaria. And it goes on to talk about all these cultures and these things and how their genes and how we can all have the same genes. We all can be what, folks? We all can be one, right? The New World Order is really the one world order, the one world government with a one world religion under Satan. One, constantly the theme, right? Love and one. That is how they're ushering this whole thing in. So we'll all have the same genes. We'll all be equal. Nothing will matter. There'll be no more hatred. There'll be no more Christians to go after the absolute nonsense going on in our world, such as a guy with a bowl haircut that's got a freaking antenna sticking out of his skull so that he doesn't have to see things in black and white because he's colorblind. So he has an antenna in his head. I don't even know what to say anymore. The article goes on to just continually talk about how humans are evolving at an unbelievable rate. Evolution is taking place, and the technology is here in which people and machines are going to be crossed into one. And they're saying this right out in the open, and people don't seem to care. Talking about mixing the DNA with computers, folks. It says we have medicines today to combat many infectious diseases, but bacteria have recently evolved that do not respond to antibiotics. Jet travel can send an infectious agent around the world in a day or two. Climate change might prevent cold temperatures from killing off whatever animal carried it, as winter may have once killed the fleas that harbored the plague. Right? Like I said earlier, just see how they're doing that with health issues. You won't have to worry about it. You'll be able to heal yourself. You'll be able to live forever. I'm taking a look outside at what I see in this world. I don't want to live forever. Get me out of here. Okay? I mean, I'm not looking to die or anything like that, but if somebody told me I got an antenna stuck in the back of my head, I could live 500 more years, I'll pass, okay? It's already absurd enough out there. We got 5-year-olds telling their parents that they're no longer boys, that they're girls, and the parents are applauding it. Yeah, I think I'll pass on seeing what the world looks like 500 years from now. Again, folks, this is Nat Geo. I'll leave it linked up. I mean, it's a really long article. It is, like I said, the cover of it, of the magazine, The Next Human. So they're talking about the next wave of humans, how we're going to evolve, taking evolution into our own hands, more propaganda, and more of the same, pushing transhumanism and the accepting of the mark of the beast and this hybrid race that the elites want so desperately to have because they don't want to die, because they think they can defy God, and they think that they can defy age, and they could defy death and escape death and live forever, because they know that they're going to be rotting in hell, probably laying around in feces with people like David Rockefeller. I thank everybody for listening to today's show. I'll leave my Patreon link linked up below. I just want to thank everybody out there who has pledged a little bit. It's helping out significantly. I'm continuing to work on the project I'm working on. I'll keep you posted on that when it's closer to completion. I greatly appreciate the support again. I mean, what they're doing here on YouTube is absolutely disgraceful and an abomination. It just motivates me to work harder and do more, because I know what's going on here on this channel is the right thing. I know this is what God has led me to do, and exposing this stuff and helping people wake up to see the filth that is this world, what's really going on, how Satan's controlling all this. And again, anything that anyone pledges is greatly appreciated. I'll leave it linked up below. I thank you all for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.